Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's Appraisal Buzzcast. We're really excited to have you join us. We have a great conversation today with Joan Trice, CEO of Allterra Group, and Scott Reuter of Freddie Mac. We'll be discussing Scott being named CRN's 2021 Valuation Visionary and what to expect from Freddie Mac in the future. Joan, I'll pass it along to you.
Thank you, Jim, and welcome, Scott.
Hi, Joan. How are you?
Pretty good. Looks like a sunny day up in Maryland today. And fortunately, I'm down in sunny Sarasota enjoying my winter weather. So, Scott, let's jump right in. Congratulations, by the way, on the recent CRN Valuation Visionary Award. That's pretty exciting news. Why don't you share with our audience what you see as your vision for the future of the appraisal profession?
Well, thank you, Joan, and really honor and recognition from your peers is always significant. And my vision for the appraisal profession, wow, how much time do we have? I think any discussion around the future starts, I think, with a reminder of really where we're at and where we fit in the process. I think we've seen and will continue to see a complete digital transformation of the mortgage origination process. And I think the job now is to really analyze and unpack what that looks like for appraisers. And to me, top of that list is a continued migration towards a more data-driven process. And then as we begin to test and build out options to the full appraisal, somewhere between waiver and the traditional appraisal, that may mean realities like appraisers may get pointed to more difficult and complex assignments. And then by extension, I think residential appraisers will need to really work on their skill and their data skill, their analytics skill, and really go beyond, as Danny loves to say, 3 comps and a cloud of dust. The process now that we've kind of built. I think it's going to demand more rigor and skill for appraisers going forward.
Do you think that means we're going to have some new education programs along the way?
My personal view, without a doubt, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, I don't either. I think it's really needed, like now, as in yesterday.
Look, we appraisers wake up every day and we get beat up from a lot of different angles. And there's a lot of, quality issues and concerns that we see, every day. It's not everywhere and it's not across all appraisers, but there's really been a lot of skill and rigor that's really kind of been driven out of the normal day-to-day single-family residential appraisers skill. And I think there'll be a door opening for that to re-enter. And that's really where we're going to, I believe, have, appraisers begin to demonstrate, if you will, their highest and best use to the industry going forward. I think as we digitize, as our friends on the modeling and analytics side become more sophisticated, and we are very much in risk-based lending, I think there's a lot of loans that just, an appraisal informs a risk decision. And I think there's a lot of risk decisions where there's going to be a lot of data and analytics that can really help satisfy that. The good news is, and I always wonder if I'm far too naive here, but I remain tremendously bullish on our profession, particularly for single family residential appraisers, because I think the good news is most of the world between the oceans and between the coasts is not homogeneous and has a lot of data. I think it's fairly heterogeneous. I think it's in a lot of areas largely rural. I think the properties are unique and complex, and there's not, a lot of model match properties. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for appraisers in the spectrum of need to really develop skills that will keep them very viable.
Well, thank you for that. And bear with us for a moment, Scott. We're going to break for a commercial message. And then when we come back, let's talk about the CRN a little bit.
Okay.
Appraisers, if you've grown frustrated with endlessly pursuing new appraisal work and not reaping any of the benefits, Metro West is here to help. They understand and work to alleviate the pain points commonly felt by appraisers to enable personal and financial growth for their staff. After all, they've been owned and operated by appraisers since the company opened in 1987. Metro West Appraisal is an equal opportunity employer, and they're always looking for certified residential real estate appraisers to join their team. Visit metrowestappr.com/careers or email careers@metrowestappr.com. Joan, back to you.
Thank you, Jim. So Scott, a lot of people don't understand much about the CRN. We're not purposely opaque. And I think this year, in fact, we kind of were forced to be a little more transparent than we have in the past because our meetings have actually been open to everyone because they've been virtual. And so I think that has hopefully opened up to the rest of the world what it is we do. But you've been a long time member of the CRN, long before you were with Freddie Mac. Tell our audience a little bit about what we do and take some of that cloak of mystery away from our little club I think people think we have.
I will. No, you and I go back to really pre-Bank of America days, but I think when I was with Bank of America was when we began to get fairly heavily involved in CRN. And our personal friendship aside, I've been very bullish on CRN. I think it's quite a unique group. The platform is unique to anything I know of. You on your email forum can put something out, and I think within minutes it's nationwide and people are talking about it and sharing it. So the Collateral Risk Network, I think, has just always been very focused on the appraiser, the appraisal process, and keeping all those fundamentals in mind. I think to your group's credit, you've long been exploring ways to re-engineer the appraisal process. So I think that's actually to the group's credit. It's not an appraisal preservation society that wants to hold on to all the relics of a former era. You've really been on the forefront of a lot of that conversation, and excited personally and professionally to continue to partner and be a part of that. And I think, again, to try to help solve the best way to inform the risk decision making involving collateral.
Well, you and I, from time to time, have our little nerd get-togethers, and we spend an entire afternoon sort of designing what we think the future of appraisal should be.
Yep.
Again, share with the appraisal community some of those conversations. Not all of them, Scott, just some of them.
Well, listen, and you're right. That's the sign of a good lunch or a good friendship when you look down and you go, well, how did it get to be 4 o'clock? So
yeah, exactly.
And I think I'd also start by saying, as many years as we've been professional friends, we don't always agree, and I think that's important to point out. That I think, going back to the previous question, I think CRN is a forum, a little safe space, or should be, where you can really have opinions across the spectrum, and you can debate these and argue these. And I've never met an appraiser yet, let alone who's in CRN, that's not bashful to share an opinion. So, it can be kind of lively. But I think really the discussions you and I have, I think, and others, and Cliff and some other folks who've joined us at times, really are around where we fit in the risk management kind of spectrum. And I think that in trying to take and componentize elements of that are really meaningful, getting away, how does a single point value really help inform a risk management decision around collateral and those kind of things. So I think that, as well as really, from our point of view, particularly where I sit now, really be disciplined to aggressively listen to all stakeholders, but primarily appraisers, to understand their pain points and concerns. And I think you can learn a tremendous amount about really where we're at in the industry by understanding what the day-to-day life of an appraiser really looks like.
Yeah, I think for those who've never had the privilege of attending a CRN meeting, they think we all think monolithically, and you just pointed out that nothing could be further from the truth. We have some knockdown, drag out debates, and the best part is then we all have mutual respect for each other, and then at the end of the day we belly up to the bar and say, hey, how's the family?
I was reminded by a colleague recently, it was like the old cartoons we all watched as kids, where Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner they would kind of punch in together in the morning, and then they would, beat each other up and explode each other and drop anvils on each other and have this awful day of sparring. And then once the whistle blew at 5:01, then they were arm in arm, heading off into the sunset. So you're right. I think that's kind of like us.
Well, I think it's the only way you have, I call it creative destruction. It's the only way you're ever going to pull apart some embedded legacy processes and start to question why are we doing it that way? Why have we been doing it that way? And that's when the conversations get interesting, because it's like, wow, that kind of frees up a lot of possibilities. And I just think it's intellectually stimulating and a lot of fun. And hopefully, too, we can engage appraisers in that conversation. They are welcome to join the CRN. And a little announcement, we have a new website for Appraisal Buzz that I wanted to share with our audience. And we have a Buzz forum there, and that's meant for a peer-to-peer exchange of ideas and thoughts and issues. And you have graciously agreed to moderate your own little channel so that appraisers can reach out to you. And I think that's so awesome. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
We're excited as well. I mean, I talked earlier about the dedication and discipline to really listening to appraisers, and what a better forum. And kudos to you and your team. I like the way that you have it set up. We haven't been on there yet, other than on the demo version, but it appears as though it can be a real platform for us to speak directly to appraisers and also share information out, as well as respond to questions in. And we're getting a little bit excited internally, because there are a lot of things that we'll make an update to a policy, or something will get introduced into the guide, or something relative to, an element of our appraisal policy that's meaningful to appraisers, and it might just sit there in our guide. Well, now this can be a way we can highlight that. Hey, we've just made a change to this policy, or we've developed and stood up a year and a half ago. There's a lot of content there on our appraiser webpage. So freddiemac.com/appraisers. And just we're beginning to really build out and post things that are meaningful to appraisers. We heard coming out of 2020 around as an example, the tremendous rise in lumber and building materials costs from our friends at NAHB, putting a fair amount of pressure on appraisers to be able to hit contract prices. And once you delve into something like that, it's tremendously meaningful, because it's, the costs and those cost increases that our builder friends are suffering. Lumber packages have gone up 2.5 times, and those costs have nowhere else to go. So we're really working with some best practices with the builders, but also reminding appraisers in difficult assignments like that, until some of these cost increases are evidenced in closed sales transactions, there are some things they can do. They don't have to just be stymied by a one-dimensional, sales comparison approach only, as an example. So anyway, tying back to the forum, we're excited. We're already noodling around what content we want to put there. And, I really look forward to engaging with my appraiser friends.
Well, good, because I get so frustrated when I see some questions in social media, and then the wrong answer starts getting perpetuated, and it's like, ooh, that's not good. So now they can go straight to you, get the right answer, be on the right path, and save everybody a lot of time and trouble, and do it right the first time.
That's the goal.
Yeah. We really appreciate your participation on that. So actually, let's break right here to Jim. And then when we come back, Scott, we're going to talk about what your priorities are at Freddie Mac for 2021.
In uncertain times, you need a certain partner. You don't have to sacrifice top-notch coverage for an affordable premium. Intercorp has all the options and is sure to have just the right one to fit your specific needs. They provide appraisal profession with competitive best-in-class E&O coverage solutions nationwide. Having served the insurance needs of the industry for more than 25 years, Intercorp understands the risks you face every day. Whether you're an individual appraiser, appraisal firm, residential or commercial, or an AMC, visit intercorpinc.net to get a competitive quote today. Joan?
Thank you, Jim. So Scott, what's going on in 2021?
Well, just like a lot of us, we're looking to get past COVID as fast as we can, and that's going to come at its own time. I think as a priority, a valuation priority for Freddie Mac, we're going to continue to analyze the COVID flexibilities. So we're going to continue our own QC and monitoring analysis, as well as continuing to work with FHFA and Fannie Mae. This includes examining the performance of these appraisals and loans to see if any flexibilities have potential for longer term adoption into our guide. So think possibly desktop appraisals. That would be one that I think would potentially really give the industry some relief in a certain place on the spectrum, as well as we're really going to be focused on continuing to explore the valuation space that exists between the two current options, the waiver and the full appraisal. And I think that's really where a lot of the effort and focus is going to be. I think the UAD redesign effort is going to be a significant pillar and a foundational piece to really what that modernization and innovation will look like. And that joint effort and concern is ongoing. So I think those are really the main pieces. And I think all of that, Joan, as it relates to kind of the long-term vision going forward, bumps up against the reality of the existing appraiser capacity and some of the concerns and pain points we see from stakeholders outside of the appraisal profession, meaning the lenders. Well, I just did a lender conference, and as an icebreaker, they did a poll. What's the number one pain point you have? Still, top of the list, first bullet, appraisal turn times. And so I of the active appraisers that are out there doing work, and 2020 with as rough a year as it was with the pandemic, it was a real boon for the housing industry. I think we're going to continue as volume ebbs and flows. It's still going to continue to put pressure on that existing appraiser static capacity.
Yeah, obviously nobody can predict a pandemic.
Right.
And even weirder is the housing boom in the midst of 100-year pandemic. I mean, you can't make that script up. It's been bizarro world for sure.
Unreal. Like you, I read about the two worlds, the ones that are suffering, and my heart goes out to folks that have been in hospitality, restaurant, anything that faced the public that just got crushed. And then let alone we sit on the side of the spectrum where you couldn't be busier.
Right. It's definitely unique for sure. All right, Scott. Well, I think unless you have anything you want to add before we wrap up, that was awesome. And we look forward to seeing you on the Buzz Forum. And hopefully, if all goes as planned, we will see you in September at Valuation Expo live and in person this year. Yeah. Fingers
crossed for that. So yeah, it's excited to track the path of the vaccine as it makes its way to our part of the world. And couldn't be more excited about safely getting back together again.
All right. Well, thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Joan. Thanks, Jim, and your staff.
Thanks, guys. That was a great discussion. Scott, congratulations again on the Valuation Visionary Award for 2021. That's a great accomplishment and well-deserved. And we hope to see you in Las Vegas for the actual unveiling and handing over the award for you like we've had in the past. So, we really appreciate that. Appraisers, if you enjoy this, make sure you subscribe below, comment, let us know, and then head over to the Buzz Forum and sign up there. All right, have a great day. Proxy Pics is the first of its kind on-demand system for getting the location-specific media you need from wherever you are. Their simple-to-use platform creates an online marketplace matching people needing property photos with proxies or data collectors near the requested location. Through crowdsourcing, you can get current up-to-date photos of anything on the map within hours, if not minutes. Never before has there been a quicker, simpler, or more economic way to get property photos you need. Sign up on proxypics.com or download our app, available on the Apple and Google Play Store.